We have some major details here about the next Xbox console. What's going to be like, all the features that could potentially be in it. Very interesting stuff and very exciting. We will go over that. Microsoft accounts, Forza Horizon 5 with the PlayStation, something that you're going to see needing to be able to play it. So that's what implications does that have in terms of what is an Xbox going forward, and how big does this make the Xbox ecosystem? Some information about God of War, the future of it. Nintendo Switch 2 gets some more information, and we'll look at the details for Assassin's Creed Shadows, how this game will play across the various consoles. So we'll jump into all of that, but before we do, if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit the subscribe, share the video, like the video. If you're new here, you've been watching for a while and you aren't subscribed, make sure to hit it because I put out content and keeping you up to date on everything going on in the gaming industry. Let's start off and let's talk about the next Xbox console. So we got a bunch of new information about the next Xbox console, what's going to be inside of it under the hood, how we're going to be playing our games, what type of access we're going to be getting with this thing. Lots of interesting information. This all came out via the latest video here from Colt Eastwood. Talks about a bunch of stuff. One of the things he starts off and talks about is how there is going to be advanced AMD Zen 5 RDNA 5 architecture within the next Xbox console. So we'll listen to what he says and kind of discuss some of the things that he does go over in his video, because it's a lot, very interesting. And I think the future of Xbox console will be going along these lines, as he does mention, and it will just make the prospect of owning one of these things worth it, exciting, something that I would be picking up day one if they did all of this stuff. So he says there's going to be advanced AMD architecture in here, RDNA 5, all that stuff. So let's take a listen to the video.
The next Xbox console is expected to be around 2026 or 2027. It's rumored to feature advanced AMD hardware. Expect AMD Zen 5 processors, likely with RDNA 5 graphic architecture, and possibly a dedicated neural processing unit for AI-enhanced gaming. Microsoft is aiming for the, quote, largest technical leap ever in console hardware.
So there you have it. Two things there. Obviously, advanced AMD Zen 5 RDNA 5 architecture will just give better processing, graphics processing and everything. More powerful. You'll get better frame rates, better resolutions, all of that stuff. When it comes to these next-gen consoles, like, it's not going to be a massive leap that we've seen in previous generations. We are at that point where going from generation to generation doesn't give us these massive wow moments, but they can do things that make the games just look better with like lighting and the overall visual fidelity. So having AMD with the Zen 5 architecture in there, very exciting, and I think will improve the overall games that we are getting. The other thing here, which is probably the more important part of this entire thing, is the neural processing unit for AI enhanced gaming. This is probably going to be the biggest leap when it comes to the next generation hardware. Basically, just we've seen this where NVIDIA with their GPUs are trying to push AI as the future and talking about all of the possibilities with that. Obviously, the marketing isn't showing up in the real world when they were saying something like the 5070 is as powerful as the 4090, but it's because of the AI that eventually we'll get to a point which takes off a lot of the load on the hardware itself and gives us better results, better frame rates in these games. But neural processing AI hardware within the next Xbox will be there, and I think it is going to be significant in how it does take off the pressure from the pure spec side of things, the pure hardware, the pure GPU side of things, and then gives us better results with gaming. Here is what Colt says on this.
But Xbox has something even more advanced in mind: neural processing. This refers to a type of computation that is inspired by the human brain. It uses artificial neural networks to process data, enabling tasks like image recognition, language translation, and even real-time decision-making in gaming, giving the Xbox Hybrid a brain to optimize performance and enhance each aspect. Neural rendering, neural texturing, neural materials, radiance cache, texture compression, all of this with Cooperative Vector API. With Microsoft's hardware Tensor Core shaders, all could be translated to AMD technology in the future hardware set.
So there you have it. Again, neural processing, all the stuff that it's going to be able to do in order to give us better results within our games. AI is a major thing making its way into gaming, not only from the hardware perspective with consoles and PCs and GPUs, but also from the game development perspective, which I think is also going to help just the experiences that we do have in game. There will be downsides to it. There always is when there's new technology. There will be job losses, all of that stuff, which is negative, but there will be a lot of things that will improve our overall experience with gaming. And that's what has me excited about the future of this next gen console. The other thing that will be in here, and we've already seen the results of this, and it's looking like it is going to be very good. It's the software side of these upscalers. That is FSR 4.0. We've had FSR on the consoles already, the older solutions. I don't believe this gen they got utilized to the extent that they needed to be utilized, or even utilized nearly enough and to their full potential. We may see a lot more of this with the next generation with FSR 4.0. In fact, FSR 4.0 is looking very good. Here is what Colt says on FSR 4.0, and then there's also some results that we've seen from it being tested out and everything. So we'll just take a quick listen to this.
In the future, Xbox is just a software solution, and alone it is a literal game changer with sharpened 4K-like imagery at high 60 to 120 FPS frame rates.
So there's the big thing. It's going to be able to give better frame rates with the software side with FSR 4.0. And we have this article here from WCCF Tech, where they're talking about FSR 4 because there's been a lot of comparisons now, because FSR 4 is probably going to be on the next PlayStation. So people are asking, well, it's going to be overtaking PSSR. So how is PSSR going to be used in the future? But this here says AMD FSR 4 is a massive leap forward, delivering better image quality than FSR 3 DLSS with CNN model. This also comes via Digital Foundry, who did their analysis on this. They shared their first look at the new iteration of AMD's upscaling technology, and it's the first to be powered by machine learning, exclusive to the RDNA 4 GPUs. And Colt's saying RDNA 5 is going to be in the next Xbox. So all of this will be even more advanced than what we have currently right now. AMD FSR 4 is heavier than FSR 3, as seen in the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart opening sequence, where FSR 4 is around 8% slower than average using the settings at the performance preset. The performance cost, however, is well worth it, according to Digital Foundry. They are saying here that the new version of the tech addresses every major image quality issue of its predecessor, such as particle effects, which no longer support massive ghosting, transparent surfaces, which allow detail that was lost with FSR 3, quality of objects of low relative motion, which now support improved surface detail. And the biggest leap, however, is with complex motions, where AMD FSR 4 blows the previous iterations of the upscaler out of the water. In fact, they do say here that FSR 4 isn't just a massive leap forward from previous iterations of the upscaler, but also delivers better image quality than NVIDIA DLSS with the older CNN model in certain scenarios, such as with objects at rest or low velocity, where AMD's tech resolves more details. And compared to DLSS with the new transformer model, AMD FSR 4 falls short, whereas NVIDIA's tech clearly does a better job at resolving detail. But I mean, this all may continue to be improved, and FSR 4 is definitely showing that they are making major improvements going forward. So by the time the next Xbox comes out, by the time it's RDNA 5, we may see just even more improvements to FSR 4, which will be massive for making sure games on console are staying 60 FPS and above going forward for AAA games, all of that type of stuff, which is issues that we had ran into this generation, where we've had games under 60 frames per second, and people don't want that anymore. It should no longer even be an option going forward with the next generation. Now, probably the biggest question of all is going to be, what is the price of this thing? I've talked about this previously on my channel, and I think the price of these next gen consoles, and I've talked about this a long time ago, ever since we saw the PS5 Pro come out, was that the base price now for consoles going forward is going to be $700. And Colt seems to think here that that is the price as well for the next generation console. Here is what he does say about this.
Two things to be concerned about are the price and the future rendering backed by AI upscalers. Getting this level of power and performance in late 2027, you would expect it to be around $700 or $800.
So that is something that I think is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out, what consumers will think when or if they do drop this at $700 or $800 with the next generation of consoles. To me, that's just kind of a clear mandate going forward for the console manufacturers to be appealing more to the high-end consumers who are the enthusiasts of the console. And with every game going now to PC, a lot of people are just going to opt for that. But if you do want that TV solution, that entertainment setup solution with a nice sleek box under the TV where you sit back on the couch, pick up your controller and get that console experience, you're not going to have that option for that high-end console at $700 to $800. And hopefully that makes them more future-proof here for the entire generation of however long it is out. I mean, the Xbox Series X today still, I think, does a great job of making games look and run great. Yeah, it's not perfect. Yeah, there are games that do struggle at 60 frames per second. If they increase the price, they put in all this extra tech into it, maybe that takes away as we get through to the newer AAA games coming out at the end of next generation. Maybe it takes away from some of the issues that we will start seeing crop up here as newer games do come out. But $700 to $800, I wonder how that affects the launch, how many people do buy it, and how many consoles it overall does sell going forward. I think it will take somewhat of a hit because it's moving away from that traditional console pricing, which is one of the major reasons why people buy consoles, because they can get in to AAA gaming at $300, $400 rather than $700, $800 plus dollars. The other question will be, how does this all play in with different SKUs? Will it just be the premium console and then the handheld, or will there be something else in between for someone who just wants that at-home entertainment setup but doesn't want to pay the $800? And finally, I think one of the most exciting things, something that we've talked about here many times, is going to be the hybrid side of this next console. It is going to be Windows 32 API, which gives you access to everything. Cross-license, cross-progression across PC, and you're going to be able to bring your legacy games, your legacy library, and play them all onto this device. So it's going to be PC, Xbox All One. You're going to get access to Steam, access to Epic Games, all of those PC launchers on this console, which to me is very exciting. That is the future I want for this next Xbox console. Here is what Colt says about what we're going to be getting.
This new universal Windows Xbox dashboard will be built on Win32 API, meaning it'll be more streamlined for developers, but most importantly, compatible with your Xbox legacy console library. And even better, allowable for licensing, meaning access to your games entitlement, ownership, and cross-progression with console and PC with this hybrid.
So there you have it. To me, that is the most exciting thing. I think that's going to be just phenomenal to be able to experience and play when that does happen, where we're going to be able to jump into Steam games, jump into your Xbox library, bring over everything with you. And I think a major reason why they're doing this is because they want to be able to create that handheld where you do get access to your entire Xbox library as well, and give that console UI to have that streamlined experience. So that is, to me, the most exciting thing and is a game changer for consoles going forward. The next Xbox is very exciting. I know people look at this as not exciting because they're putting games on PlayStation 5. They don't have any exclusives on the console itself, but everything they're doing with these features that have been talked about here, to me, that is a great future for the Xbox console and something that I would end up picking up day one with all of the stuff that you're going to be able to experience. Now, the next thing we'll talk about here is Forza Horizon 5. We know this is coming out on the PlayStation 5 in April. And Xbox has done this previously with games like Sea of Thieves, but it is very interesting because this is going to be a game just like Sea of Thieves that sells very well. A lot of people on PlayStation are going to be playing it on their PlayStation console, but they're going to be playing it as a part of the Xbox ecosystem, because Xbox here is requiring a Microsoft account to play Forza Horizon 5 on the PlayStation 5. In the FAQs for the upcoming game, it says, do I need a Microsoft account to play Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation 5? And as they say here, yes, in addition to a PSN account, you will need to link a Microsoft account in order to play Forza Horizon 5 on PS5. This process begins the first time you start up the game on your console. So they are forcing people to make this Microsoft account. I'm not a fan of this, just from a gamer's perspective. I don't like this. This is the same gripes that I had with Helldivers 2 when they put it on PC and they forced you to make a PlayStation account. If you're putting it on the other platform, you shouldn't force people to make an account for something that is different than the platform that you're playing on. And I'm not a fan of it, but from Xbox's perspective, it makes a ton of sense. They get to pad their numbers, pad their monthly active users every time they go out and make those financial reports, get to continuously put out how they're gaining people into their games. And you're bringing people into the Xbox ecosystem on PlayStation. The reality is, if you're playing Forza Horizon 5, you are now in the Xbox ecosystem, whether you like it or not. That is just that, and Sea of Thieves and other games that have this functionality. So it's a very smart move from business perspective. I don't really support it from the gamer's perspective. You see the arguments like you can just sign up. It takes no time at all, but I'm going to be consistent. I don't like it on Helldivers 2. I don't like it here. When Xbox does it on PlayStation, people should just be able to buy the game and then play it on the platform that they have without having to make an account. But I'm sure we will see with the next financial reports a huge jump in the monthly active users on Xbox. And a lot of those are going to be coming from PlayStation, from people who are playing Forza Horizon 5. So very interesting time when it comes to the battle between these two platforms. All right, jumping over here, let's talk God of War. We've been waiting for a God of War remaster of the trilogy. PlayStation has been remastering games that make no sense, that don't need to be remastered, but the games that could be remastered and would make sense, they're not doing. One of those is the God of War trilogy. The first 3 games, ones that were out on the PS2 and PS3, those would be great to get remastered and give us a nice collection all in one place with the power of the PlayStation 5 and potentially PC if they were to release it there as well. Well, we've seen all the rumors. It looks like it's not going to be announced anytime soon. People were expecting it to be announced at the 20th anniversary. That does not seem to be happening. We have Hunter here on Twitter, and we have Sony Santa Monica who puts this out. Pantheons collide. We're so excited to bring a selection of Greek and Norse cast for this God of War 20th anniversary panel, where we'll be reflecting on the past 2 decades of the series. With such a stellar lineup and all the anticipation we've seen around the anniversary, we do want to be clear that there are no planned announcements for this event. If you're able to snag a ticket, we'd love to see you at Gallery Nucleus to join the celebration on March 22nd. So no game announcements, no look at the next mainline God of War game, no trilogy, nothing along those lines. You have to start asking yourself, is there actually a God of War trilogy remaster in the works? And if there is, are they just waiting to announce this at a major PlayStation showcase? This is one I hope they do bring back and announce the collection for, because I love the older games and I would go out there and pick this up and play it. All right, we have more information here on the Nintendo Switch 2's upgrades. This is revealed by the FCC. So some interesting stuff here that looks like will be coming once we get that April 2nd Nintendo Direct, where they're going to tell us all of this information. You would assume it's very close, just a few weeks away here now. But we have this information from Video Games Chronicles and stuff about the Nintendo Switch 2. So a Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, in a filing made here, is revealing that the Nintendo Switch 2, like its predecessor, will support NFC via its right Joy-Con controller, likely confirming support for the amiibo figures when playing original Switch games and Switch 2 software. The Switch 2 users will also be able to charge the console using either its bottom USB port or the new second USB port, which is located on the top of the device. That's a small thing, but it makes a big difference. That was always annoying to me with the current Switch, where you always had to have it plugged in on the bottom if you were in handheld mode and you were trying to charge it. I just always find that annoying when you have the charging cable sticking out on the bottom. They also say here the Switch 2 will also support Wi-Fi 6 networks up to 80 megahertz of bandwidth, up from the original Switch's console of Wi-Fi 5. And the FCC filing indicates that the Switch 2 is rated for an AC adapter with a maximum of 15 volts, which is the same as the original Switch, but also mentions an AC adapter that goes up to 20 volts. So it's unclear whether the Switch 2 has faster charging speed or more power when docked. My guess on that would probably be that it's going to be more powerful when docked, and they're going to be giving us some upscaling images here, hopefully with some NVIDIA DLSS technology when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. That's going to be very interesting to see what they're doing with that thing docked. With it undocked, it won't be crazy. It'll be a nice upgrade 1080p, hopefully on dock. But with the dock side of things, if they're using software side tech like in NVIDIA DLSS, will we be getting the thing upscaled to 4K to take advantage of people's TVs, which obviously 4K TVs are far more prominent now than they were even in 2017 when the first Nintendo Switch did come out. So I hope that is the case. Finally, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Looks like people are reviewing it now. It's in people's hands. And one thing that we always want to know about when it comes to games like this is how does it run on the consoles? What are the specs? And we have the official spec sheet here for the PS5, PS5 Pro, Series X, and the Series S. So for the PS5 Pro, and the Xbox Series X, they're all 2160p upscaled. There's 3 modes here: 60 FPS mode, performance mode, a 30 FPS fidelity mode, and a 40 FPS balance mode. I love this new thing that game developers are doing by putting in that balance mode of 40 FPS, because it does make a big difference going from 30 to 40. You wouldn't think it'd be huge, but you do feel it. And they all have ray tracing usage. The only difference between PS5 Series X and the PS5 Pro is in the fidelity and the balance mode. Instead of the standard ray tracing, which they say here, it is used to compute global illumination for diffuse lighting throughout the game world. The PS5 Pro in fidelity and balance mode has extended ray tracing, saying full support of ray tracing to compute global illumination for diffuse lighting and reflective surfaces throughout the game world. How big of a difference will that be? We don't know. I have a feeling it's not that huge a difference, but that is really the only difference between the Pro, the Series X, and the Series S, is just some additional ray tracing. Now, the Series S only has a fidelity mode at 1620p upscaled, 30 FPS, and then selective ray tracing, which they do say here is that it has the ray tracing in the hideout portion of the game, so it's not throughout the game world. The Series S version is interesting to me because 30 FPS, I mean, it makes sense for the Series S right now, 2025, with a game that looks as beautiful as from what we've seen here from Assassin's Creed Shadows. But I believe they did the same thing with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, is that on the Series S when it launched, 30 FPS, it had higher resolution, upscaled and everything. And then they came out later with a 60 FPS mode on the Series S for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up doing the same thing here with the Xbox Series S version. Maybe a couple of weeks or a month or so down the line, they do release a 60 FPS version and the resolution will just be far less, which I wouldn't mind having that, because I play on my Series S as well as my Series X. But if I want to jump to the Series S, I would like to get that option for the 60 FPS or even just a balanced 40 FPS mode. I'll end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe if you'd like to stay updated on everything going on in gaming. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. I'll catch you in the next video.